welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
6 riders moving up. Look at what has already happened, though, on the start of this race today. We've had the top riders in Category 3 progress to Category 2. The top riders from Category 4 progress to Category 3. And now no one knows who is going to take this out. And this is Category 4, and 5 riders are clear. Now, 15 seconds up on the chasing group, so just clear. You can see that on that bottom left-hand screen. 2 groups now in this Category 4 race, separated by between 15 and 20. So Ella Vink, well, she was absolutely dominant in the Category 4 racing for the last few weeks, and that now is coming on to being a very bold and brave rider in this Category 3 race. This is the chase group, and Category 2 are about to come up onto their wheels now. How many of these Category 3 riders can jump in?
Here we go. It's going to be Celine Colombi. She overturns the finals result from last month. She takes away top spot. Your winner of Qualifier Race number 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, Celine Colombi, takes the victory. So, welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 2. And boy, we've said it before, but time does fly when you're having fun, and we always have fun here on the Sunday Race Club. It's great to be back with you. My name is Matt Payne. I'm here in the studio with
Emma Martin. It is fabulous to be here today, Matt.
And we've got some great action going to be coming up here out on the course in our women's race, and of course later on in the men's race. But before we start, I've got to say a massive thank you to everybody who has kept us entertained riding, because I was really entertained and great to see Sylvia Persico, who took a 2nd place for the UAE team in the Gravel World Championships. So fantastic. UAE ADQ team doing an amazing job there. And we're going to see who is going to be our Niwa Donna and who's going to be our Persico out on the course. Let's see who is going to be nailing it out in somewhere which is another World Championship venue out in Australia. We are in Wollongong, but we are on the Outer Loop, Emma, and this, I know, is one of your favourite courses.
Oh, I love this as a race course. We are indeed in Australia today on the Outer Loop course. 35 kilometres of racing for the women, 593 metres of climbing, and that is the profile facing the riders today. So 1 category to climb coming before the halfway point, and that is absolutely instrumental in this race today. So 2 sprints along the way, 2 300-metre sprints, and then this 1 category 2 climb, 5.4 kilometres long with an average gradient of 7.6%, but it does kick. Indeed, the steepest section is right towards the top, over 16%. And the crucial part of this race today normally is indeed the top of that category 2 climb. If you do not go over the top of that category 2 climb with the front of your race, you will not be there for what potentially could be the finishing sprint.
So that is the big key point for selection, but there is a really early selection point as well. And you can actually see that left-hand side. This for me is one of the other key points. When we come out from the start, there's a slight dip and then a kicker out and up. And the very first climb, and this is something my dad always used to say to me, the first hill of the day is always the hardest. It's always the one where you've got to then be ready to respond. And even though it's much smaller, it's a tiny little bump on our profile. It's going to affect our riders. Now, as you, I'm sure, know and have seen on the rewinds, we have 4 race categories. Categories 1, 2, 3, and 4 in yellow, green, blue, and red, respectively. They will be setting off at 5-minute intervals, with Category 4 going first, Category 1 going last. We're into our last 30 seconds. A great field of individual riders. No teams today because we are on the qualifiers, not into the finals. Emma, good race field.
Yeah, 19 riders on the start sheets in Category 4 today. De Gracia is here. Jill is here. Jimenez Rios is here. And Roname Joy Mayer, who took the win last week, is also on the start sheets today.
So here we go. We're into the last 5 seconds.
So we are sat on the start pens. Away go, Category 4, October Qualifier Race number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club is underway, and the race field is up and safely out of the pen. And take a look at that. They are bunched across that boardwalk as they transition into the city. Now, this is a really interesting start on this race because they left out the start pens. And then within the first 700 meters of this race, they hit the first kicker, and an absolutely big kicker, because they come swinging around this right-hand bend, and then the gradient starts to change. It's slowly kicking up at the moment, but it is going to get steep, and you can see the positioning already of our Category 4 riders. We've got riders pushing on at the moment, and Kirchner is the rider doing the chasing there to close that gap down. So Kirchner goes up and over the top and is leading this group out, and the stretch already on this race field, absolutely telling.
It is. Now, this is a tough climb. This is about a minute and a half of absolute pain if you give it big beans and you go for it. But that is going out on a full-out race effort. I have to say, most of our riders are going to be smart and not go for that at this stage. You want to go out, you want to stretch the group, you want to put the effort in, but what you don't want to do is put everything down on here. So it can take longer, which will equally do some damage. Going up at a slightly lower pace, but for a longer duration, can actually make some riders' life harder rather than going up full out at max power. And as you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, while riders in there, we're starting to see the yellow and red chevrons that indicate we're going into power. So when you move in through those zones, and going in through zone 4, you'll find that the rider's going and kicking in the yellow. Then when you are really going for it, as we can see here by Paolo, who's going up at 6 watts per kilo to kick clear. Now you can see the gap just starting to open now. Grazia is in here, and it looks like Paolo just having a little issue. So she's out. That did look like she was having a little bit of a spike on the equipment, so she's out of the game by the look of it. So we have got the group together. So when you do kick over the top here, you'll find the chevrons go yellow to red on the right-hand side of your screen. Then over the top, this is where you've got to push. And you can see that gap forming. That is what you don't want to happen. You don't want to let that gap go because a bigger group are in front, the smaller group are behind, and this is another opportunity to lose people. So here we go over the top now. Paolo back in with us. So the advantage of having a dual recording on our riders always means that if one of the power systems drop out, we can always pick up on the second. And you can see really is kicking on here, wanting to make life difficult. Paolo off the front. De Grazia behind in that group really is kicking.
Well, this is a really early move here, and I think perhaps too hard a move this early, because she is absolutely trying to sprint away from this group, and we know on this descent here, it's a long descent. It's not a particularly steep gradient, but it is a particularly long descent, and we know that pack are going to roll and roll well. So Paolo off the front here. It's Moreno, Francis Mayer, who are doing the chasing behind. Bremer as well is in that group, and well, that group is motoring behind, and as we expected, this early climb in this race today on the outer loop in Australia has already done the damage right the way across this Category 4 race field. If you take a look at the bottom left-hand screen at the moment, you can see 5 discrete groups on the road at the moment, and it was one beautiful group coming out of that start pen today.
So let's take you through what you can see on your screens at the moment. Left-hand side, bottom left-hand side, that is the race route. That is the satellite view, and we'll pick it up on that. At the moment, on the left-hand side of Category 4, you can see the course weaving its way around. You see the pens on the left-hand side of Category 3. Our Category 3 riders lined up and ready to go. Bigger race field, this one.
Yeah, it is indeed. 24 riders on the start sheets today in Category 3, all individuals. As you mentioned, Matt, we are in the qualifiers. Now, Vink took a phenomenal win in her first ride in Category 3, but we'll put that into context as soon as this race has started for our viewers. So Vink, Alzat, Areas, Giraldo, Kirchner, Ospina, Madeira, Hino is also in here. This is a stacked race field today, actually, in Category 3.
It is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Now, we were talking about people progressing and dropping down last week, Emma. We're going to see that again. Let's see how that affects Category 3 as they leave the pens. We are go, go, go. It is time to head off into the outer loop here in Australia, a route you can come and ride. But be wary, that hill is just around the left-hand junction, the sweeping right-hand bend, and you're soon going to feel it kicking in if you come out and race this loop. And you can actually pick up that climb on a number of the race routes here on MyWhoosh.
Yeah, so I'm just going to put Vink's win into perspective. So we said last week that Vink had been very dominant in Category 4, and last week was her first ride in Category 3, and she went out and she took the win in 1 hour and 36 minutes. Now, you might think moving up to Category 3 and taking the win is a little bit difficult for your first event, but the race last week was really interesting. Vink's win in Category 3 was only 1 minute faster than Mare's win in Category 4.
Interesting.
So actually this tells you how the race was in Category 3 more than how dominant Vink was. Because Vink took that win, she took the opportunity and she was brave. But her winning time in Category 3 was over 10 minutes slower than the winning time in Category 2. So that really was about the fact that it was a very cagey Category 3 race and that Vink decided she was going to have a go. Now, bravery sometimes gets rewarded, and these results tell me that it was rewarded last week for Vink.
And it was a very different course last week, wasn't it?
It was indeed. We were on the Heba Hafit last week, a very big climb at the end, so a very, very steady race pretty much until that climb for the Category 3 women last week, and then Vink decided to push on.
Well, let's see what happens this week. Will it follow that plan? Category 3 at the moment still looks to me to be reasonably steady. We're just starting to see the red numbers come in. We're seeing those chevrons come in as a push comes from Isabella Giraldo. Giraldo wanting to lift the pace here, just make it that little bit more difficult. And you can tell here, I mean, I think realistically, that this is that steadier build-up, isn't it? Because we're not seeing a flat out from the gun attack going over the top of this climb. This climb is taken at a pace these riders are a bit more comfortable at. And at the moment, it's Giraldo who's gone early. She will be wanting some assistance. I think they're going to come back to her. Meanwhile, on the Category 4 right-hand side, you can see that these riders, this is the leading the group, they're making the way down through Wollongong City. They're going through town. Meanwhile, Giraldo and Co in Category 3 on the left-hand side of your screen, well, they are on the way back around the loop. So this is a little loop. They'll come literally right back past, down to their start and do a right-hand turn, go under the tunnel that goes underneath the climb. And don't forget that you can come and ride this. So go on to the Australia route and pick up the outer loop. It's a great route to ride. I was actually out on this earlier on in the week, and absolutely cracking route.
Yeah, well, this absolutely cracking start has split both these race fields. You can see the Category 4 race field is coming back together again, slowly and steadily. That blob you can see on the left-hand side of your screen getting larger and larger, and that is also what is happening in the Category 3 race. Now, this Category 4 race, that green banner indicating the first sprint segment of the day finishing. So we will very shortly get some times coming up, and you can see that Bridget Bremer, 29 seconds. 0.8 is the fastest time at the moment, and she takes that green skin suit awarded for the fastest sprint time. The accumulation of points over the race from the two sprints will get that green skin suit in each of the categories.
And the riders going through that sprint here in Sydney, the Sydney Sprint with the big tower blocks out and around, making a big difference to the riding because it has broken the groups up in Category 4, Category 3, 1 block, Category 2. Well, they are about to set off from the pens in the yellow, in the green jerseys.
Ooh.
Oh, am I going colourblind? Oh, my goodness.
No.
So it is the green jerseys of Category 2. And Emma, another good field here.
21 riders on the start sheets today, and Hadlock took the win last week, but Kekkonen is in here. She's moved up. Holweller put in a good performance for her first top 5 in this category since she moved up a couple of months ago. Botero, Castano, are all in here. So is Ochoa, Gallego and Arrayas and Barco. So looking for a really good race here today. So in the category 2 pen, away go our riders. They are up and out on qualifier race number 2 in October. They're swinging across the boardwalk and out of the start pen, and they are shortly going to take that left-hand turn, which will take on to that first climb of the day. Now, taking a look at this, we're seeing a big push coming here, and this push coming absolutely fast and hard.
So this big kick out from race start. Ella Vink going for a Vink, going hard off from the gun once again. I think she knows one tactic: go hard, go for it, and doesn't want to be left behind as well. I think for me, Ella Vink really does work well when she's in a big group and goes hard and makes it hard from the very. I think one of these days we're going to see her having a fight on her hands. That will be because she'll go just too hard too soon.
Well, Vink, who took the win in Category 3 last week, moving up to Category 2. Emily Mabin is also there, and Natalia Gallego. Hadlock coming up too as well. So this group of Category 2 riders, much larger group at the front as they move into that climb. So the push continuing to come on the front, the stretch on this Category 2 race field. But if you take a look at the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that those groups have come back together further down the road in Category 3 and Category 4. So the question is, should you burn your matches early on this climb, or should you just ride up the hill, pretty much like the Category 2 race are doing at the moment, reserving that energy for later on in the race?
Because one thing we need to remember, and you can see the differing terrain here, is it's not particularly flat in between, although it is relatively flat. It's not as bad as the Wollongong circuit, where essentially there's more climbing outside the categorized climbs than there is in there. This very much is telling. So if we take a look at the course profile here, the first little bump, we've got the dip and rise down that comes after the Sydney Sprint. We then go on to the main climb, and then we run through. It's still relatively flat. Wollongong, in comparison, I mean, it's just like somebody's heart rate profile,
it's completely
isn't it?
different.
There's more climbing outside the climb than in it.
It is, and indeed that is absolutely correct. In the Wollongong route, which we were on last week for the men, there is more climbing outside of the 3 main climbs than there is in those 3 categorized climbs combined. Very, very different profile today, a lot flatter and a lot of a faster running. Now, and that fast running, once they get to the top of that Category 2 climb today, the Canberra climb, it's a 14.3 kilometre run to the finish line, which is pretty much either downhill or flat.
And that makes all of the difference, doesn't it? Because you've got that run down in. I think if it was me, I'd be going on every uphill on the way in, trying to break the groups down, really make life difficult. So everybody's working non-stop. You can see at the moment all of these riders are working very hard. We have got riders distanced out the back of this main group at the front, and that is telling that the damage has been done. We're also seeing the same here on Category 3, where there are riders distanced. You can see that on the left-hand bottom, left-hand side of your screen, the radar view, the satellite navigation view, showing these riders behind at the moment just being distanced. And this group also starting to split and fracture as it comes in through the Sydney Sprint. Remember, no points in terms of monetary prizes. However, there is the jersey to be gained, the sprint skin suit. So we will see Christina Arias turn it into green, and there we go. And that is because she's not because she's moved to Category 2, but that is because she has the sprint skin suit. So the sprint leader has a green skin suit categorized by the shorts and the top, whereas the riders in Category 2 are black shorts and green. And also, you'll notice that there is a number 3 on her back because she's a Category 3 rider. So the Category 3 through the sprint Category 4, currently in the undersea tunnels. Category 2, well, they are on the way out and round the Wollongong loop. But you can see at the moment, the riders in Category 1 are lined up. The big field of today Emma.
They are indeed. 28 riders on the start sheets in Category 1 today, which is fantastic to see. And fantastic to see Columbi in here, our winner last week. But Coincident, who took the win in the monthly final, is in the field as well. And welcome back to Catherine Fua. She's on the start sheets today after a few weeks' absence. So fabulous to see her back as well. So Manshandi, Embring, Flores, Miller all in this field today as the Category 1 riders head out the start pens and on to the course. It's a steady start at the moment, but there's a little bit of a stretch coming as we head out, and that is just because of the riders at the front of this race field just picking up that pace a little, but you can see the range of pace through that field. It's just around 3 watts per kilo at the front, so settling down as Lisa Hermansen comes to the front. Now, Lisa Hermansen is one of the riders who moved up to Category 1 at the beginning of this month. So fantastic to see her and Anna Embring, both compatriots on the same team that have been winning the last couple of finals in Category 2. So those two riders progressing up to Category 1. It's going to be brilliant to see what they can do this month. I'm mixing it now with the rest of the riders who have been here for some time. So this race field, they're in the yellow jerseys and they are already stretched out of that start pen, and a group is forming at the front very, very early.
And this group is continuing to form, continuing to push, reform, break, reform. And that is the dynamic that we see, particularly on the start here now. We are going out at some serious wattage. You can see by the numbers on the right-hand side of your screen. So you can see that each rider is on the screen, and each of these riders has their name, the watts per kilo, the distance they've covered, and the time gaps around them, as well as the category jersey. And remember, of course, with 4 categories, 4 races happening simultaneously, there's no one overall winner. There are 4 individual category winners, and we have 4 sets of prize funds. So category 4 are standard level races. They have prizes ranging from 432 AED in 5th right through to 2,160 AED for 1st. And remember, of course, today is a qualifier, so it's just the individual classification that is rewarded. When we come to our monthly final, that's the time to, when you know who your friends are, then that's when we in a team, because we have our big team prize. Now you can see first prize in category 4 becomes third prize in category 3, with the top prize now moving up to 3,600 AED, 720 for 5th place. So pays to be right in the front and to break that group down to a small group to be able to get in there. So the more aggressive you are, if you can eliminate it down to a group of 5, should be that you're in the prizes. Now, similar jump up again. First prize moves to third as we have 6,000 AED for the first prize, 1,200 for 5th. And from category 2 to category 1, guess what? It doesn't go down. There is only one way, and that is up. And look at that prize fund. 5th place, 2,000 AED. 4th place, 4,000 AED. 3rd place, 6,000 AED, 2nd place 8,000 AED, and the top spot a whopping 10,000 AED. Now, if you don't in AED, because we have riders from around the globe, let's find out where we're going this week on our Round the World with Emma Currency.
Well, I was going to head to Sweden, actually.
Okay.
So Swedish krona is where
Excellent.
I'm going today.
We've been there before, I think, once or twice.
I think we have. I think, you know, their challenges is there are only so many countries in the road, but we are now watching Anna Embring, of course, one of our Swedish riders in category 1. We were talking about Hermansen earlier, but 10,000 AED, 29,838 Swedish krona as of my exchange rate right now on Google.
There you go, and please do see Google for exchange rates, not Emma. If you message her at Biking Emma, she's not great. Let's do one currency at a time here. So on Around the World with Emma's Currency Exchange, there we will see a different currency every week until we run out of currencies and we come back to Sweden again. Let's see where we are. We also do the same on the men's race. So if you want it in different currency, you can always tune into the men's race. And make sure, of course, you do tune in on Twitch TV. It's MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV to get the full technical as it comes out. You can also subscribe on there as well as on YouTube. And whilst you're online, don't forget, of course, to subscribe and follow MyWhoosh on Instagram, on Facebook, and it's my_whoosh, which is on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. So here we go, in with Marlene Bjørhed, as Emma is busy doing some counting things. She's on the maths again.
I was just trying to work out how many riders there were in that group, actually, and I reckon that's about 13 riders in that leading Category 1 group. They've got a very small chase group behind. Whether those two groups come together is going to be interesting, but currently we've gone from that starting field of 28 riders down to around 13, and that was the first climb of the day.
It was indeed. So out and around, you can just see that just coming in, the pens are actually to our riders' left-hand side as they come down here. You can see the boardwalk coming in. Our riders come down, and at the crossroads where they turned left previously, they're now going to turn right, go under the tunnels, and this actually takes them directly underneath the very first kicker of a climb. Meanwhile, Category 2 are out en route, as are 3 and 4, but Category 1 down, heading into the tunnel. We're in with Marlene Bjørhed, another one of our Swedish riders. I think that was a very appropriate currency today, Emma. Well done. Just heading in underneath the tunnels here. And you can see the riders at the moment pushing on. I was actually focusing there on the ability of Marlene Bjørhed to sit in this pack and hold the draft. You can see the top of the screen. She's got a green number most of the time. That means she's holding in the draft. She's not getting exposed to the wind. She's not having to work as hard. If we look at Kekkonen at the moment, she's going up on to the front here, pushing over the section over the top of this bridge climb that takes them out and over into this big descent. The numbers there, the watts, 270 or so at peak there. They are in white because she's on the front and getting the wind belting basically straight in the face at that speed because she's doing over 45 kilometers an hour.
Well, currently in that Category 2 race, around 15 riders in that leading group, and they are coming up onto the back of the Category 3 race field. On the right-hand side of your screen, though, that's the lead in the Category 4 race, and De Gracia, Bremner and Mayer, those three riders are the three riders you can see on the screen at the front of that race. There's 4 or 5 seconds back to the chasing group, so 3 riders now clearing Category 4 as we drop back in with the Category 1 race field, because the front of that race field go under the start banner of the first sprint, which tells me they are now 4.2 kilometers into this race, and the end banner up our front just around the sweeping corner on the road, but no push, no sprint really coming out of this Category 1 race field. So the Category 1 race field choosing just to continue on at a steady pace through this sprint segment. So I think the points are going to be awarded to one of the other riders in a different race category.
Yeah, quite possible that that is where it's going to go to, and indeed there we go. So Nolan Kekkonen, the fastest rider through, and indeed the whole of your screen filled with green jerseys of the riders in Category 2. Emma, Category 1, I guess, are a long way down then.
Yeah, so Barragan and Fu are the first 2 riders in Category 1 coming through that sprint. So now, at 21st and 22nd place. So you can see a real mix of riders in front of them. In fact, Category 4 were moving really strongly early on in the race as well. And you can see that indicated by the red jerseys in that top 20. So the first sprint of 2 in this race today, fastest time being set by Novelin Kekkonen in Category 2, Barco, Gallego, Areas, Pelagio, Gianti, Mabin, Sanchez, Garcia and Vink, rounding out the top 10 fastest times through that segment. So we drop back in with the Category 1 race field. They are now just over 5 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. The leading group now settled down, and you can see that group now comfortably ahead on the road. At last count, we had around 13 riders in that leading group. Now, across the screen on the top right-hand side, you can see the Category 2 race field. That is a large group of riders as well. 15 riders in that leading group. They're now starting to work their way through the back markers in the Category 3 and the Category 4 race field. Now, that Category 3 and 4 race field are on the bottom of your screen. Category 3 on the left-hand side of your screen in the underwater tunnels. They are moving a small pack. They're smaller than the Category 2 race field, but still a leading group. Again, a leading group in the Category 4 race field. So no attacks, no riders clear, a group on the front of every single race field, because we have yet to get to that Category 2 climb at 15.3 kilometres. So for me, that's where the split is going to come. If there is a split, it's going to be interesting to see who goes over the top of that climb together and what group is, if there is a group going over the top of that climb, because for me, that's going to be absolutely pertinent for this race.
Definitely, and how the tactics play out here as these riders go through is so critical. And if you've not ridden on here and been in a group ride, then maybe what you need to do is jump on with one of our groups. Got a lot of the teams are now starting to run some great events, some great community events on there. And one of those teams is one of the men's teams, actually, the Category 4 Tour de Force team, because they're running a great event. So Ian Lloyd and the gang there are basically heading the way out and around all of the routes on MyWhoosh. So if you want to take on all the routes with a team, the Category 4 squad from Tour de Force are actually on there. They're riding at on Thursdays now at 7 p.m. GMT time, so I'll let you do your conversion wherever you are. But don't forget, you can click onto those events. Keep an eye on the events page. Jump on with one of the teams, one of the teams that are putting on the event. And got to say, really do wish the Tour de Force team really well. So jump on there. They've got their own Discord channel that you can jump on to actually then get in touch with those riders.
Yeah, and if any of the other teams in the women's race or the men's race are looking to put on rides on MyWhoosh, let us know. I'm probably quite interested in joining one of them. But B, we can let everybody know on the broadcast what time your event is, and hopefully get more riders on there so that not just they can ride with you, but on that Discord channel they can ask questions of you that they might want to. They're watching you on the Sunday Race Club, they're riding with you during the week, and what an opportunity for that community engagement. So all 4 of our categories on your screen at the moment, and all 4 of them are pushing on now, and they're pushing on towards this climb that comes at 15.3 kilometres into the race. Now it's going to be our Category 4 race field who hit that first. They are currently at 13.9 kilometres, at 14 kilometres now into this race, and there is a good strong group at the front here. Bremner, De Gracia, Madeira, Mare, Rios are here, slightly behind, just 1 second back, Galeno, Kirchner. So these are all the names we would expect, Matt, to be at the front of this race field.
It is. It's familiar names. It's great to see, interesting for me, and great to see that the riders here in Category 4, they're not afraid to have a go. They're not afraid to push on and break the group up. Just put those probing moves in. What I always like is I like to see riders thinking about what they're doing, not just riding blindly, not just following everybody else, but actually make the racing happen. Because those are the riders that you know that as they progress, as they get stronger, as they race more regularly, as they progress through, they're the riders who are going to then be able to use those increases rather than just keep following and not actually make the most of the increase that they get by being on the platform, maybe using one of the workouts that is on MyWhoosh, or riding with the community rides, riding with people who are quicker than you. If you use the gains you've got, you're going to progress quicker.
Well, 7 riders in that Category 4 race field going into the base of that climb now. The Category 1 race field, now they started 15 minutes behind Category 4, who are currently the leaders on the road. They are at 8.5 kilometres, so significantly some way back down the race field, but 15 minutes that difference in the start time. So Catherine Fuhr, Lam Kong, Cornelia Engstrom, Marlene Bjarhead, all here at the moment, and you can just see these groups are splitting a little bit now, and that is what is interesting to see. So the leading group, you can see them up the road. It is Fuhr who is here, and she is doing the chasing at the moment now, a few weeks off of the bike for Fuhr, coming back into racing. I'm sure that form is going to come very, very quickly. She's got Smithers for company at the moment, and they are continuing to push on under this tunnel towards that leading group. So just 6 seconds at the moment separating Fuhr and Smithers from that leading group. A little bit further back down the road, around 26 seconds behind them is the next chasing group. But in front of us on the screen, you can see that is the leading group on the road. That's the leading group in Category 1. This is just a little bit further back down that race field. This is Rosalind Barragan. She is the rider behind Fuhr and Smithers. So it really is starting to split and fracture this Category 1 race field at the moment.
And it's fractured going down into the tunnels, and we have got the big climb out. So we go through the tunnels here, then we're going to go on to the climb. You see that coming top right-hand side of your screen, and we're going to take a look at our course profile, which will actually show us exactly where we are. So if you make your way from the Sydney sprint, that is the green sprint on the left-hand side, over the big bump at the top, drop down along the low section. This is actually the lowest point in the course. No surprises, because we're down under sea level. So we're just down in there. And as you can see there, this is the penultimate big climbing section that takes us in towards the key climb of the Canberra climb, the only categorized climb, a Category 2 climb at 5.4k long. But this section out from the tunnels can split those groups. And it's definitely where I expect to see these climbers in the group push on and stretch the riders. Meanwhile, of course, Category 4 are a lot further down the road, and that Canberra climb is looming large in front of them because they are at 15.7k. So they're 400 meters into the climb, being led by Rona May Joy Mayer. Rona May is doing a thing, going for it off the front.
Well, she did that last week, you know, on the Kibble feet, and she showed us how strong her climbing ability is. One of the strongest climbers in this Category 4 race field, Gina de Gracia, is following closely. So is Maria Gil. Jimenez Rios is there as well. You know, Galeno is not that far behind. The gap now starting to form to Bremner and Madeira. So it was a group of 7 riders going into the base of the climb together, but they are already in one long line on the slopes of this mountain. So Rona May Joy Mayer doing what she does well, and that is climbing strongly. She's currently getting a gap on the chase group of 4 riders up this climb. So Mayer in 1, de Gracia in 2, Jimenez Rios in 3, Gill is in that group as well. She's just hanging off at the back of it. Myra Madeira is the rider in difficulty at the moment in Category 4. They're on the lower slopes of this climb. Category 3, well, they will shortly be arriving at the base of the climb. They're currently at 13.9 kilometres into this race. Category 2, well, they're at 12.6, not far behind. Category 1, still at 10.6 kilometres into the race, still in those underwater tunnels. The group holding a steady pace under here as they're climbing up and out, and will shortly be out of the tunnel. But it's looking like it's Lisa Hermansen who is leading the group. Constantine is there as well. So is Embring. So Gonzalez Rua at the front of this pack as well. So is Sarah London. This group rotating through. Lam Kong is made the selection this week, which is fantastic to
Yep,
see. The rider
really
from
good,
Hong
isn't it?
Kong. She's been on the Sunday Race Club now for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be about that, and really is coming on with every ride.
She is completely.
Definitely. Now, one thing, I'm just going to have my little smug moment here. Now, I did predict, I think you'll find, that Celine Colombi was going to be the rider to watch on the big climb last week because her climbing was so strong. And just, who won again, was it? Oh, yeah. It was Celine Colombi. I think you might find that she was the rider who was looking really good in Category 1 last week on the big climb. So we're going to see if she can do that. Now, the climb of the big climbs that come at the end are very different to the climb that comes mid-race here. Would you expect riders like Celine Colombi maybe to try and put riders like Lam Kong, who is more of an all-round rider as far as we know so far in her time here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club? Would you expect those climbers to use absolutely everything on the climb, or are they going to have to save something back?
Well, I think you really need to think about that climb and the top of the climb as the finish of the race. Because we do know that whatever gap you have at the top, if you kick on over the top and you get your momentum right and you get that speed right on the descent as soon as possible, you can extend that lead on the descent. And very, very often we see that is exactly where the riders go away and they never come back. So if you've got that climbing ability like Colombi or Coinston, who took the win last time on this course in Category 1, that's where you really want to use it, because extending that gap on the descent, holding it on the flat with the pace that you're riding at, you don't really want to be taking 8, 9, 10 riders into the sprint, because it will be a sprint finish if you do not go clear at the top of the climb. You want to be taking a group of 1 or 2 riders over the top of that climb. You do not want to be taking 15 to 20.
No, and I think you've got it absolutely nailed there. Get it down to a group, really bring it down. I wouldn't want to go solo off the top. I think it's just that little bit too far, isn't it? But I think that group of sort of that optimum of 5 or 6 riders, ideally for me, a group that's bigger than anybody else on the climb. So for me, it's about putting the groups behind into 1s and 2s. That's not happening here for Rona May Joy Mayer. She is a solo rider on the front. But she maybe is the exception to my game plan there, because we do see her regularly riding solo because she is strong.
We do. And I think it all comes down to individual motivation, because some riders like the motivation of desperately trying not to be caught and going out solo, and they're motivated by being at the front. Other riders are motivated by the catch and chasing hard to catch. So we've seen that time and time again as gaps come down on final climbs as we get towards the top, because the riders are motivated to make the catch towards the end. So people are motivated very, very differently. Now we can see here Catherine Fuhr, she's been distanced from that group in the Category 1 race, and she's continuing to push and continuing to work. Now we know when Fuhr is on form, she's capable of winning this Category 1 race. She's had a few weeks off the bike and she's back. It's fabulous to see her back on the Sunday Race Club, but she's got some catching to do here in this Category 1 race, should she want to be at the front. But honestly,
don't do it, Catherine. It's not worth it.
To me, she's winning. She's back on the bike. She's back on the Sunday Race Club. And that, for me, is a win for Fuhr today. Now, Engstrom and Ergwek, the riders in that leading group, they are now a minute down the road. They will very shortly be seeing that climb, and they'll be motoring their way into the finish.
I think they're going to be clear behind Catherine Fuhr. You can see Smithers working to come back together, but they are riders in 1s and 2s, and I think it's very difficult, particularly when you look at the draft. I mean, look at this.
Take a look here. How easy that Category 1 race field are moving at. Hermansen's heart rate's at 133 and dropping. Now this is a let's just sit up and chat moment before we get to an important part of the course.
Speak for yourself. The pace they're going along there, I wouldn't be doing a sitting up and chatting. They're still on a climb, and don't discount the fact that it's a 1.1, 1.2, 1.3% gradient climb. It's not very. It doesn't take very much for you to notice it in your legs. With the way that the accuracy of the riding is, it's not fake speed. It doesn't make You know, you don't suddenly hurt along at 200 kilometers an hour when you're putting in 10 watts and going on up a hill. When you're riding on MyWhoosh, it is very, very realistic. And for riders like me, that might mean that we can get a lot of scenery appreciation done on the way up the climb, let's say.
Well, I'll tell you something, Novlin Kekkonen, she's in the front of that Category 2 field. She's not getting much scenic appreciation at the moment because she is on that climb. Now, this is the Category 2 race field. They are just 500 metres into the climb. It's currently just shy of 5%, and it's still a significant sized group at the moment. Kekkonen is in there to the back of the group as the push starts to come on. They're about to hit the steeper segments of this climb. The gradient will go over 13% before they hit that level section you can see on the top right hand corner of your screen. Still quite a significant sized group in Category 2 at the moment. I don't think it's going to be that sized group when they go over the top, but it's going to be really interesting to see.
It is, and this is what I get what you mean about this course when you say, I love this course, the deciding point in the middle, you've got to race in the middle, you've got to race it, and it forces people to race early. I actually like Wollongong for that, because Wollongong, you race from the moment you come out of the pen to the moment you go over the line. You have no choice. You can't, there's nowhere in there that sits up because of the dynamics of carrying a group over what is like a roller. It opens and it closes, it opens and closes as you go up and over the top. Very different riding depending on how the courses are, but that's what's a great thing. There's so much variety. We race across so many different routes. It is fantastic to see.
There's huge variety as well. You can see with all the 4 race categories on your screen at the moment, all coming together slowly. Now, Category 4 are the leaders on the road at the moment, and they are just coming up to 18 kilometres of racing complete. They've still got more than 2 kilometres of climbing ahead of them before they get to the top of the climb. But you are taking a look now at the Category 3 blue jersey wearers right about going round that corner. This is the Category 2 green jersey wearers. They are about to make the catch on the climb.
They are. This is going to come together. This is going to be the catch between Category 2. Remember, these groups were separated by 5 minutes at race start. But this is one of the wonderful things, isn't it, about being racing on MyWhoosh? 4 category starts in the men's and the women's race fields. And that means that you can jump on board and race against people of a similar ability. And it gives that racing that real dynamic. I'm loving the left-hand side of the satellite, the radar view with the multicolour snake weaving its way up that road there with the red of Category 4, the green of Category 2 and the Category 3 bunch centre in that being caught now.
Well, this is going to be really interesting now to see what happens. Are we going to see an attack from the Category 2 bunch to try and split them and use the confusion of the Category 3 to encourage that to go? As we were watching Hadlock, she's the rider from Category 2 going into that bunch first. Gianti is close on her heels, so is Mabin as they go into that bunch, that mix now of green and blue jerseys. But I'm taking a look at that, and there are no big numbers coming out on the right hand side of your screen, so I think those Category 2 riders are happy to tap their way through that Category 3 race field. And that, to me, Matt, is looking like what is happening at the moment. So no real response coming from the Category 3 race either.
And it's almost like they're racing 2 separate races.
Civilised.
It was, wasn't it? I mean, we often see that moment of a juncture being the moment where basically it looks like somebody's taken a hand grenade, pulled the pin and dropped it in the middle, and it's just blown and exploded apart as we see people at the front breaking away, at the back being distanced. That was, they came together and they came apart. It was like synchronized.
That's like they handed them, you know, would you like to share my water bottle as I ride past you? Thank you very much, and now I'm moving on.
Yeah, not going to happen when you're racing with me, I'll tell you. That's not going to happen. Oh, my God.
It's a bit like one of those moments, isn't it, where Beryl Burton hands a licorice all sort to the leading man as she passes him.
Yeah, mine's more like the Peter Sagan. I've had enough of you. I'll throw the water bottle at you and get myself disqualified.
Well, Category 2 leaders on the road are now up and ahead of the Category 3 leaders on the road. There was 5 minutes in the start pens between them, but Category 2 are now up the road, and it's just the Category 4 race field leaders that are ahead of them at the moment. So as our riders are all out on the Australian Outer Loop course, we can see the rider leading on the road at the moment is Roname Joy Mare. She took the win last week in the Category 4 race, but the distance she has achieved on this climb is not huge. You can see, well, if she could turn her head, she would see the chase group behind, because that is where they are. They are not very far away.
And the riders, of course, can turn their heads, because a bit like we can look at these different views. There we go. That's view. Now, you can do this when you're riding. You can change these views around. You can look at where you are. So when you jump on MyWhoosh, if, like me, you're generally behind people, they're in front of you, and you're trying to desperately hang on to the wheel, you can use your standard view. If, like Emma, on a big, long climb, you're going to go try and ride clear and leave everybody behind you, like Roname Joy Mare, you can look back behind and take a look back and a back. Now this group is coming in, and you can see just coming past. We're going to take a little bit of a check on the riders. Degrassi in here. This is the leading group as they come up the climb, and we are about to hit the second of those landing points that are on the way through. So I always call them landings, and Emma always pulls me up on this, but they are. So a landing is a point on a set of stairs. Go the stairs, it then pauses, it might turn around the corner, then you got the next flight of stairs. It's a bit like that here. Now, sometimes it's a big landing where you can stop and have a meeting and have a civilized chat like Emma might do. And some of them are just a very small landing where I might just come flying past and just go, oh, sorry, excuse me, on my way, just on, and not really pause. The one that's coming up is definitely of the latter type. It is a shorter type. Now, when you are up here or riding up here, and you come up this climb, now I've ridden up this, it is a very different feel when you go over the two different landing points, the two different step points on this climb. When you go into the first one, it's long enough to actually use it. So you can use it to attack, you can use it to rest, you can use it to take a scenery appreciation break. But when you're on the front and you're going up and you hit the shorter one of the two, it's not long enough by any stretch of the imagination. Category 2 just hitting that. And in fact, Category 1 are on their way to it at the moment. And it looks like the pressure coming on from Mina Koisonen here. So the action's starting to hot up as Category 1 hit those lower slopes.
Yeah, they are indeed, as Koisonen now pushing on at 5.8 watts per kilo. Gonzalez Ruhr is responding. So it's Kansani and Hermansen, Bjarhed and Engström. Sarah London is there as well. Wow, this is the Swedish contingent today. In front of this Category 1 race, Lam Kong is in the mix. She's from Hong Kong. She's flying a flag for a different region in the world, and she is in the mix today. Phenomenal riding from Kong, who joined the Sunday Race Club not long ago. If you want to be here and in the mix, you need to get onto the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. You need to head over to mywhoosh.com. You need to download the app. You need to get on, jump on, take a ride. Head over to the events page, click on the Sunday Race Club. All the information you need to join us is there. We would love to see you in the future with us on a Sunday, not just watching but riding. There's 4 categories racing today in both the men's and the women's race. Something for everybody on the Sunday Race Club. Jump on your bike, get your kit ready, get your water bottle, and join us on the Sunday Race Club in the future.
Definitely. The more riding you do on the platform, the better. So that's whether it's on the Sunday Race Club with us, whether that's practicing, training on the Tune-Up Tuesdays. Great racing to be had there for everybody on Tune-Up Tuesdays. Shorter distance, nice, fast, quick, intense training session that is part of the race. If, like me, you're not great at training, but you love the race. Absolutely love racing, hate training. That is the way to do it. If you want to go out on a ride, and as we've already said, don't forget, of course, lots of community rides going on, like the Tour de Force team who are out there putting on the rides. I know the Hitmen have been putting on rides as well. Jump on board, get onto that Discord channel with them, and then work out what ride you want to go on. Get on the ride, because it is so much fun. So please do come and join us. Download iOS and on Windows operating systems. We've just had a machine installed actually in the pain cave, and where my bike is set up on there, I have to say, absolutely loving going through. I went to Brussels last time.
Well, I'll tell you who's in the pain cave at the moment, and that's Gina De Gracia at the moment, because De Gracia is pushing on here. She's got 18 seconds now on this Category 4 race.
She has 18 seconds on the green jersey wearer, Bridget Bremner in Category 4. So De Gracia leading Bremner at the moment. The green jersey in Category 3 is in that main Category 3 bunch at the moment, the sprint there. And it is often an indicator that people have the power. Interesting, Kekkonen in Category 2 has been distanced by the leaders in Category 2, and Kekkonen now not in with the very front riders into, and Barragan in Category 1 again, right in with the main climbing group. So Categories 3 and 4 have got their big sprinters in there, the people who've already shown they've got sprint form. The riders in Categories 2 and 1, well, they've shown they've got the sprint form, but maybe not the climbing form. But remember, people often use the qualifiers. If they're not going to go out for the win, quite often they will then choose a specific thing to train in the race. That could be sprinting, that could be climbing, it could be a tempo effort, and that is really, really key. Making sure that you use it to do what you want, because there's so many ways to come and race on a Sunday race club. And as you can see, all of our green jersey wearers, they're all the riders who've currently gone through that sprint segment the fastest. And got to remember, of course, when we were in the championship, that was worth a lot of money. The MyWhoosh Championships, $1 million prize fund, huge prize fund. Like all of the events on MyWhoosh, equal between the men's and women's categories. And of course, that's an incentive for those people at the front to race and ride. If, like me, you're maybe not going to be right at the front, you're racing against other people. It could be you're racing in here with people who you're up against, and that's a great battle that we're now starting to see evolve on Category 1. Emma, it's starting to break, isn't it, as we're on second of the three sections?
It's definitely starting to break, and Celine Columbia, our winner from last week, is in trouble at the moment, and she's having to dig really, really deep. So Columbia, Engstrom and Longden, as well as Kong, are the riders getting distance, and we're starting to see 4 riders go clear. Koinstinen be ahead, Hermansen and Gonzalez Rua. Those are the 4 riders pushing on at the front. The riders at the back of this group now working really hard. They are digging really hard to stay in here, because staying in here in this Category 1 race is absolutely essential, as we see another dig from Cornelia Engstrom. She just kicked to 5-6 watts per kilo, and she's digging to stay in. She's not digging to go away. This is absolutely crucial. They need to be in this leading group in Category 1 when they go up and over the top, but they've still got 2.3 kilometers of climbing to go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's dig deep as they head past the Category 2 race field, and you can see all of these race fields are still on this climb. Category 1, Category 2, Category 3 and Category 4 all on the climb at the moment, and it's Gina De Gracia who is still leading this. She's at 19.8 kilometers. She is the rider who will see the top of the climb first. She's got well, I think she will. She's got 900 meters of climbing left. The Category 3 race field are nearly a kilometer down the mountain.
They are, but Category 2 are motoring at the moment.
Well,
They're slightly in front. They are closer at the moment than Category 3 because they've overtaken. They're the only lead in a group that have overtaken the leaders in a previous category. Category 1 are behind, and I would agree with you, Emma. I'm not so sure they're going to catch Category 2 at this stage. It could well happen, and we have seen all 4 categories come together pretty much as they come into the finish.
We have.
So it can be an absolutely frantic finish where the groups start to come together, and that is something that the riders regularly will be aware of. All those that have done their home and watched back the footage of the Sunday Race Club, and they've looked at when we've been on the outer loop and they thought, hang on a minute, if we break into a little group, we go clear, we are going to find groups come together on that long descent, not necessarily in our category, but using the drop from other categories. And that is really, really key. So knowing how to race and how to use the course and the rest of the riders to your advantage is really key.
Well, it is indeed, because we have very different finishes course. So last time we were here, it was a 6-rider sprint in category 3 with 1.1 seconds splitting that race bunch.
Yeah, next to nothing splitting it. And we often see categories 3 and 2 or categories 2 and 1 sprinting it out together. Category 4 and 3 also doing the same thing. Really interesting to see. Now, we have our leading group of riders. This is the 4 at the front. So you can see that we've got Koistonen, we've got Bjarhed, we've got Columbi, and we've got Lopez, Hermansen in there. Lopez from category 3, just being passed on the way past. And now coming up onto the back of Natalia Becker. You're going to have the prime seat to see the leaders in category 1 just go over her right hand shoulder and in front of her here, give maybe a little bit of draft. The push is coming now. Emma, they're working well together, these 4. They know that if they can take these 4 clear, they've got enough people there in a group of 4 to work together over the other side. They're going to hit this slight little flattening the leveling off as they come around the right hand bend. That gradient will drop from being over 10% down through 9, down 8, 7, 6, right the way out, and then it will kick again. It does break the rhythm up, but these 4, they've got the riders there, they've got the strength in depth, they've got the talented riders, they know they've got the gap. It's not huge, but if you look on the left hand side of the screen, it's bigger than the gaps behind.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, isn't it, is these are 4 really strong riders. And absolute credit, I think, has got to go to Lisa Hermansen here. She's made this juncture. She's made this group. She came up from category 2 2 weeks ago into category 1, and she is learning quickly about this category 1 race at the moment. So Hermansen, phenomenal job. Koistonen, Bjarhed and Columbi all in this group. And now what's interesting for me is further back down the mountain, the rest of the category 1 field look to be not far away from each other, and as though they are starting to come together. Now this is going to be really interesting to see what distance these 4 riders have on the rest of the category 1 race field when they hit that descent, but I think it's going to be too much. It's going to be over a minute, so I don't think there's going to be any catching to be done, but there's going to be a big race for that 5th place.
There's a race for every place, but I agree it is going to be a big race for 5th place. Let's see if Emma's predictions are going to come true. We are here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, 35 kilometres, a total height gain of 593 metres. We are on our category 2 climb. This is our main climb of the day, the Canberra climb, a climb of some 5.4 kilometres. And as you can see, as we go up the climb, it's all starting to really come back together again. So you can see category 1 and category 2 still separated on the road because category 2 overtook category 3. Category 3 and 1 are all really fighting well at the moment. Category 4, they right up near the top.
Well, category 1 have just gone past the leading group on category 3 as they pushed on past that large group of blue jerseys. Those 4 riders went straight up and through. So category 2 now, the second group on the road, category 1, the third group on the road, and we've got not much distance now for the leaders in category 4. They are about 400 meters in front of the category 2 leaders. So can they make it to the top of that mountain first? They do not have far to go. They've got 200 meters to go. So De Gracia is there. Rona Joy Mayer is there. She's 20 seconds back. So it's Gina De Gracia. Look at that. She can see it. She can see that polka dot banner indicating the top of the mountain. She is going to go clear match. She's going to be the first rider to the top. The category 2 race field are up to 8th place because Hadlock are leading that. But this front group, the front rider of category 4 and probably the rest of that group, at least the top 6, I think are going to go over the top of that mountain first.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Gina De Gracia. Then we've got Rona Joy Mayer at 31 seconds back, 30 seconds back, let's say. Another 30 seconds back to the main chasing pack of Category 4. Then you've got Madeira. Then you're into the Category 2 chasers. But Category 1 are going like an express train. They're not going to catch the fastest rider over the top, the first rider over the top at the moment. That is Gina Di Grazia, 28 minutes of climbing, 28.08 for Gina Di Grazia. She comes up over the top. She will be the fastest rider in Category 4 because remember, this sort of riders came in basically together into the base of the climb, and they have split on the climb as have gone up and over the top. Now, Rona May, Joy May is going to be the second rider over the top. You can see the difference in time there. A 20.34 for Joy Mayer, a 28.08 for Di Grazia. We're going to have a similar kind of weight for the next group. They're on the way now. So this contains Bridget Bremner, who's shown she can sprint in that sprint segment. But with her, you can see we've got Gil, we've got Galeno, we've got Rios. And then there's a gap back to Madeira. This, I think, is going to be really interesting. Can these this group, big group of riders coming through, they've come through 30 seconds down, a 29.04 for Rios going over the top. This is going to be key. They need to work together. They're going to be chasing Di Grazia. She now has the polka dot skin suit as the rider who took the fastest time up that climb. Remember, just the one that categorized climb today. Di Grazia is solo. Joy Mayer is solo. Group of riders behind chasing. They have the advantage. They can take the draft. Meanwhile, Category 1 have gone past that Category 3 group on the road there. They're in front of Kekkonen as well, the sprint leader. And at the moment, you can see that Koivunen and Columbi, well, they have now shed Hermansen, who is down the road. Then it's going to be the group of Engstrom and Lundin. So at the moment, Bjornhead using that climbing ability to stay in sight of Koivunen and Columbi. That gap, it's not all yet, but behind Hermansen is now 17 seconds down. Is Bjornhead going to wait for Hermansen? Is Hermansen going to have to put a monstrous effort in to get back to Bjornhead? And will that leave them anything less to chase after Koivunen and Columbi?
Well, it's still over a minute back down the road to the chasing group in the Category 1 race. But noticing there, Noveline Kekkonen has also been dropped from the Category 2 race lead. Now, this is really getting interesting as they come to the top of this climb. So Mina Koivunen, the triathlete, she won on this course the last time we were here. Columbi finished second. It was the other way round last week on the Hebel Hafit. I think Koivunen is showing her strength on these steeper slopes, whereas Columbi, the longer climb, is suiting her. So Koivunen pushing on as the gradient gets really steep. Bjornhead is in third place at the moment. She's going to watch Koivunen and Columbi go underneath that polka dot banner, 12 seconds ahead of her up the road. Can she push on? Can she make the catch? She's got 14.3 kilometers to do it, and there's very little climbing left.
There is, I mean, there's very little climbing left. There are the odd bumps, the odd little rises. They're a few meters long. They're maybe 100 meters, but you don't have this big long climb, and that is going to be critical. So at the moment, Columbi is up the road from Bjornhead by about 12 seconds. This is going to be very telling. What happens now? Critical in the race.
Well, what could indeed happen now is Engstrom and Lundin, who are 40 seconds back, could indeed make the catch to Hermansen, who's 25 seconds back. And then the three of them could work, or Bjornhead could indeed sit up, and that could be a group of 4 riders. And then if they work together, the chase could seriously be on.
Could, and I think that's going to be really critical, isn't it? How these riders react now, how they deal with where they are on the course is going to be critical. So at the moment, Category 4 is the leader rider on the road going down. At the moment, 23.8k covered for the second place rider. That is Geronimo Joy Mayer. The rider in front is about another few hundred meters down the road. It's about 40 seconds in the lead. That's Category 4. Category 3 and Category 2, well, they are on their way to very different parts of the course. You can see Wendy McAlpine at the moment chasing the leaders in Category 2 on that descent. Category 3. They're still on the climb, and Category 1 are going up the top.
Category 3, I'm sorry, I'm actually going to say this. They're having a cup of tea going up the mountain at the moment. They're all going, oh, I don't think we should bother racing yet.
Do you know if...
let's just tap up the climb together.
Let's put this in context. I'm seeing Category 3 riders with 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. What's the kilo coming out?
They're going in for a sprint at the end.
Well, yeah, fair dues. You know, they're going to get the prize for the most chilled out ride of the day.
I'll tell you who's not having a chilled out ride at the moment. That's Lisa Hermansen, because she is doing the chasing. Marlena Bjarhead is 28 seconds down the road. Koinstinen and Columbia are even further down the road. That chase in the Category 1 race is now on. This is the Category 4 race. Gina de Gracia is the leader on the road. She's 45 seconds clear now of Rona Mayjoy Mayer. Bridget Bremner is on the chase. So is Maria Gill. I think the second place in the Category 4 race is going to get caught, but not getting caught up that mountain and setting the fastest time was Mina Koinstinen in Category 1, 19 minutes, 14 seconds, as opposed to de Gracia, who was our Category 4 rider, who went up there in 28 minutes. So that really putting the difference between Category 1 and Category 4 into context. But look how close Columbia was. Bjarhead, Hermansen, can see Engstrom, London and Kong all motoring up that climb strongly.
They are, and the gaps are, they're not huge, but they are probably big enough behind Bjarhead to be decisive. I can't see Hermansen pulling that gap back, but it's going to depend on the tactics between those two riders. Koinstinen, the fastest rider on the climb, well on the way into this descent. Now, if she can make up some ground, she's going to be able to get a little bit of draft advantage, which is really handy when you are on that fast descent, when you're on the flatlands in the distance, currently at 9.5, over 11%, now over 12. It is a roller coaster ride down, super fast, picking that speed up early, over 70 kilometers an hour. That's 40 miles an hour. If you work in imperial measurements, that is absolutely flying. And if you compare that to the speed of de Gracia on the flat section at the bottom of the climb, you can see why Koinstinen is making up ground quickly. And at the moment, de Gracia, the leader of the road, who's on the right-hand side of the course, the leader in the Category 4 competition, she is the rider who's got a little bit of a rise coming in now. She's going to go over that bump, and then it will level out again. Koinstinen still on that descent, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. Now, behind, we're going to take a look here. This is our polka dot skin suit in Category 3. This is a Pauli Henao. Henao on the descent, well on the way down here. Again, moving quickly. It's a 4.5% slope, but they're still traveling at nearly 60 kilometers an hour. And this is due in part to the size of that group. Now, you don't need as big a slope to travel faster when you're in a group, because you are getting that draft advantage. And if you use it and you actually accelerate up through there, you can get it's almost exponential, that gain that you get from it.
Yeah, well, talking about gain that you get for it, we've got the chases on all over the place at the moment. They're coming to the bottom of that climb in Category 2. Gianti, the race is on. Gallego, Gianti, Hadlock, Garcia, Sanchez are all in this mix now and pushing on. This is quite an interesting race. It's Myra Madeira they have now caught, and just 6 riders now ahead of them. Those 6 riders in that Category 4 race, they've caught the 7th place rider, Myra Madeira. Madeira is hanging this lead group, because this Category 2 leading group could now tow her back to the top 6 riders. They're around 40 seconds up the road. This is absolutely critical, I think, for Madeira now to see if she can hang into this bunch.
And she's on that slope. Get over that slope with them. She's got a good chance of staying with them as they catch. Really important there. Now, a little bit further back down the course, or should I say a little bit further back up the hill. This is the chasing group now. This is really interesting here, because we have in the mix a real mix of riders who are chasing back, trying to get back to the riders in front. 48 seconds separate the chasing group of Lam, Kong and Co, who are chasing Hermansen. Sandwiched in between is Kekkonen, and Kekkonen is no slouch when it comes to working with a group, she will know that they are also on the way, and she may well wait for them to pick
Yeah, if
her
I was
up.
Kokonin, that's exactly what I'd be doing.
100%.
Category 2 rider, you know there's a good Category 1 pack coming from behind you. You know the second you get onto the flatlands, she's a strong rider. I would be taking the opportunity if I was Kokonin now to take a break, to take a pause, to drop my heart rate. To drop my heart rate and wait for those 3 chasing Category 1 riders, and then I would kick and I would work my socks off to stay with them.
So we're in with Nolan Kokonin. Look at the numbers, 99 watts, 109 watts. She's going to be trying to bring that heart rate down, get some rest done. And then as the group come up to her, she's not going to drop any further back through the field. She is losing time.
But she's not going to lose places.
No, but she is losing time. But you gamble that loss of time against the benefit of being picked up by a group. She can't go any further back in terms of position, but she can gain some time if she uses that group. It's how long you've got to wait and how far coming down behind. So Kokonin on the left of your screen, on the right hand side of your screen, you can see the riders in that group. They are currently about, I'm just taking a little look at the numbers, they're about 1.2 kilometers up the road. So they are in front, and Hadlock, Giannetti, Garcia, Gallego, and Howeiler will want to stay clear. 5 riders, 5 prizes. You want to be up there, you want to stay clear. Meanwhile, right at the very front of the race, some 45 seconds in front of the Category 2 leaders, Gina de Gracia in the polka dot skin suit is now at 28.8k. But this will feel a long, long way to the finish if you're solo, because remember, we got to get to 35 kilometers, and that's a substantial distance, and it is not flat.
And the 5
rolls.
chasing riders are all together in that Category 4 race. So we've got one lone leader now, De Gracia, being chased by 5 riders who are all together. So that is going to be a really interesting finale, because De Gracia, she's got 6 kilometers to go till she sees that finish line. Hadlock is a lone leader at the moment in Category 2, but it's literally by like half a second, because there comes the white helmet of Gianti. She is coming as well. Gallego is on her wheel. So that has got a number of riders in that Category 2 race as well. At the moment, on the left-hand side of your screen, that's the Category 1 race. We've got Coinston also in the polka dot skin suit, because she set the fastest time in Category 1. De Gracia on the right hand side of your screen set the fastest time up the climb in Category 4. They are both leading their races, and they are both leading the Queen of the Mountains competition.
And absolutely flying, and it shows you, doesn't it, if you put the attack in at the right time, you can open the gap on there. You've got to go through there with the leader, or you've got to be in a big group very close, that you can close gaps down, but we still have plenty of racing left. It'd be really interesting to know. I think at some point, one of us, Emma, is going to be working out exactly what sort of time gap you need over how many riders behind to stay clear on the way through. I mean, it's not a precise science, because, of course, it does vary depending on nutrition, hydration, temperature, all those other things, and all the factors like how everybody else's tactics are played out and how they out there. But you know, there is that sort of guideline, isn't there, where you need X amount of time over a climb to be clear, to get there ahead of a big chasing group. It really is chess on wheels. It's an old phrase, but it is so true, because what happens behind is critical. So De Gracia on your screens on the right-hand side, leading in Category 1. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, you can see the leader in Category 1 on the left-hand side, Category 4 on the right-hand side. So Coiston at the moment up to 13th place overall.
Yeah, she's
13th place overall. She set off 15 minutes behind our race leader on the road.
She did. She's working her way through that race field. Now, the last time she was on this course, she took the win in Category 1 in 1 hour and 6 minutes. So let's see where she gets to at the moment. Hadlock is leading the Category 2 race. She's got Gianti for company. They've got a small gap now over Gallego, and then another gap back to Sanchez. So those gaps now are starting to form in that Category 2 leading pack as they come into the last 5 kilometers of racing.
So 5K to go here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. An intriguing race with a real different tactics and different race scenarios being played out across all 4 race categories. Category 4, solo race leader. Category 3, now surely this has got to be the group that wants a bunch sprint. Nobody going clear.
Look
Category
how far
2,
back they are.
it's fractured all over the place, and we are seeing battles continuing as the riders are being caught and passed by the leader of Category 1, Mina Koistonen, who's got Tanya Howeiler trying to stay with her. But look at the pace of Koistonen. She's blowing them all off her wheel at the moment. She's absolutely on a mission to stay clear. Howeiler's trying to get back on. It's not happening. Meanwhile, Gina DeGrazia has hit a critical point on the rubber her because the sprint will be, she'll know that starts at what is effectively 4 kilometers to go. She knows that she's past the 5K to go marker. She's now going through the 4K to go marker. This will not be a sprint for her, but it will tell us by the time that she's doing through there and whether or not she's moving. That snapshot through there, we're going to get a good idea of whether or not she's staying clear, how much time is she gaining or losing on the group behind.
Well, I think one of the things is Gina DeGrazia and Mina Koistonen in Category 4 and Category 1 both have the same tactic at the moment. They are both time trialling away from the rest of their field, and they are holding a constant pace. Now, relatively, it's really interesting because DeGrazia is holding around 3 watts per kilo. Koistonen is holding around 4.4 watts per kilo. And that is a really interesting thing to see because you're seeing the same tactic, but you're seeing the relativeness of the 2 different race categories.
So Gina DeGrazia goes through there, 34.604. Now, Bremner is coming to the end of this sprint. Let's see if she goes in above. She does. And look at the time difference.
Look at that. So really moving on. Bremner really pushing on. And take a look at that. The whole of the group go through quicker. So the chase is on.
5 seconds for the difference in Category 4 riders between our race leader, DeGrazia, and Bremner. Over, remember, 300 meters. That is next to nothing. That is a short distance and a big time gain for the chasing group behind the race leader. This could all come back together yet and mixed in with this dynamic. We have express train that is Koistonen at the moment. Mina Koistonen going through. She doesn't have the fastest time through there. That now getting jumbled up with all of the riders in categories 4, 3, 2, and 1. But you can see Koistonen going through just behind Bremner's time, I think, going through that sprint. So Bremner at the top of the table, then Koistonen, then Madeira, then Mabin, then Columbi, then Gianetti. It shows you that this race is well and truly on with these riders trying to get themselves across. Remember, these are not sprint times. Nobody here is sprinting through that
I think
segment.
Bridget Bremner might have been.
I don't think so. She's on a chase. Remember, she's gone from the chase group. She's trying to break clear and to close down on the race lead. This is for the race win. She tried to go clear. I think this could be really interesting to see how far she goes through.
You can take a look at that. I think that category 4, I think that was an effort to take the sprint, to take the sprint points and the sprint jersey from Bremner, because take a look at that. She's taken the points now in that category 4 race and she's been awarded the sprint jersey, and the pace is now off because that group are now moving between 1.4 and 2.4 watts per kilo. They are not doing the chasing that they were. They might have brought that gap back down 5 seconds through that 300 meters, but it's gone back out again now to over 50 seconds.
Can't do that. They're going to give the race away.
That's exactly what they've done. So they are racing for second place now, and they are happy for DeGrazia to push on. Now take a look at that. She's now moved up into second on the road. So Koistonen, for me, is the one who is going to catch DeGrazia. It's not going to be the category 4 pack chasing behind.
And they've had both Mina Koistonen in the skin suit, in that polka dot skin suit of category 1, the category 1 leader, go through them, and they've had the Category 2 leaders go through Category 4 as well. The chance to jump on a number of wheels. They've not been able to do so effectively enough to bring the gap down and to stay with those riders coming through. So at the moment on the road, we have Grazia of Category 4, then Koivunen of Category 1, then Hadlock of Category 2, followed by Category 4 chasing a group, which is a big mix of riders because we've got Category 4, 2 and 3, I think, in there as they go through. So this is going to be a real mix of riders coming into the finish.
It's just colourful.
It is indeed. It's very colourful, but it's going to be an interesting chase. That gap is coming down. I think Koivunen is going to see Grazia around this bend. Great shot here as we see the balloons in the sky over the top of the course here. Koivunen now pushes on, trying to drop Hadlock. And look at this. You can see the skin suit in front. It matches hers because they are both the fastest riders up the climb in their respective categories. Grazia is going to see that long-held lead eroded. The leaders of categories 1, of category 2 and 4 are all together. Category 3 leaders are a lot further back on the road. That is going to come down to a sprint. But these 3 riders, if they can work together, they could stay clear. Look at Grazia digging in here. Well, she's in the red. They're trying to stay with him, but they're not going to hold Koivunen, surely.
Well, they're not, but the chase is on behind because the rest of the Category 2 field chase is in the Category 4 field, and they are motoring. So will the Category 4 field stay in that group and bring Bort back to you? And has all that work Grazia has done has been mixed? But look at this. This is the Category 3 race field. It's got Category 1 riders in there as well. So now this race, well, I wanted to say it's been lit up a little bit, but not really. There's still a big group.
No. It's got the sprint leader, the climb leader, and it's got a big pack of riders that are all together. That will be a sprint. If it's not, I will eat my hat, quite literally. Now, here we go. The leaders on the road. Koivunen at the front in the polka dot skin suit. The Category 1 leader. We're in with Angel Hadlock, who is the Category 2 leader. They are just ahead of the rider on the right-hand side of your screen. That is the Category 3 leader, Grazia. Category 4 leader, Grazia. Grazia has been holding on. She's third on the road. She's the Category 4 leader. She still has a gap on a chasing group of riders, but there is time for that to come down, but not much time because we are coming in to those final few hundred meters. The leaders on the road currently moving through. They're going to take a right-hand turn, so we sweep round the right. They hit a T-junction. They take a right turn. We've got a long run down. We then take a sweeping left-hand bend, and we are very quickly on to the finish, and that is very, very tricky to get right. Now, Koivunen has caught Hadlock for 5 minutes. Koivunen has had the better power to weigh the better speed. However, this is a sprint at the end of a race, and this could be anybody. So here we go. They're on the way in. So we are going to see the run in. Hadlock is here on the wheels of Koivunen. This is the run. 200 meters to go. Hadlock in the green. Winds it up though. Koivunen opens the gap. The response comes from Hadlock. Hadlock's winding. She's got the better power at the moment. Hadlock's on the right shoulder. She goes over the side. Koivunen's going to kick again. Koivunen now kicks. Has she got the timing right? She has. Koivunen takes the win. So Mina Koivunen wins Category 1 and the race from Hadlock, the winner in Category 2. And it's going to be Grazia in Category 4. She's going to be the third rider over the line. She'll also be the winner of Category 4 in the race. A top 3 finish as well overall. What a finish. What a ride by Grazia to hold on. She's kept clear of the chasing bunch. 3 of our category leaders through. Mina Koivunen taking the win.
Well, I think what's really interesting there, 3 different riders, 3 different categories. Koivunen 1 hour and 6, Hadlock 1 hour and 11, Grazia 1 hour and 21.
And here comes the chase. This is for second and third place. Rhoda May Joy Mayer, the early attacker, the early aggressor, is going to take second place in Category 4. Meanwhile, you can just see the sprint coming through here. That's going to be for the Category 2 win. And I think that is going to be going to Gallego, who came in through there. She's going to be taking away the winning category. The riders coming through thick and fast now. As you can see, Bridget Bremner just coming through in the sprint jersey. So a frantic finish, as we maybe predicted at the start of the race. And you can see that we've had categories 1, 2, and 4 come through. Category 3 a little bit further back down the road. So Hadlock from Gallego, from Howeiler, the top 3 in Category 2. Koivunen from Columbia, from Hermansen, the top 3 in Category 1. And don't forget, all of the results at the moment are live. They're updating quite literally as we speak. So please do make sure you go onto mywhoosh.com/results. You'll be able to catch up with those. The 3 states are at the moment live. When we get to the end of the race, they will be unofficial until all those results are verified. And at that point, then will be the official results. And that's what the prizes and those fantastic, however many Swedish krona will be going out. We will see whether or not that matches. Maybe we ought to change currency for the next show. You never, ever know. It has been an absolutely cracking race, Emma.
It has indeed, and all credit to Koivunen there, doing what she did well and riding away from the field. Celine Columbia in 2. Fabulous ride from Lisa Hermansen today to take 3rd spot in that Category 1 race.
Definitely. So we are going to be taking a short break. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action. My name is Matt Payne. Please do give us a follow. You can catch up with me across social media. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. Emma, where can we find you?
Oh, you can catch up with me, Emma Martin, at Biking Emma on Instagram. Get in touch. Tell us what group rides you're setting up, what's going on. It'll be great to hear from you.
So we're going to take that break. We'll be back with the men's race very shortly. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to our riders putting down the power and keeping us entertained. And of course, we hope to see you for the next race. But from Emma, from the team, from MyWhoosh, and from myself, Matt Payne, we'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.